gonna airball everything here. Watch this. All right, I indeed did not airball. Hello everyone and welcome back. Today we're going to be playing this really sweet list for United Battlefront, being a Orzhov Pixie deck that it really relies on bouncing a lot of valuable pieces, even more so than what you would argue in the Esper Pixie decks, where Kaido kind of takes those games over. We're going to rely on Liliana, Unholy Annex, and kind of temporary lockdown shenanigans to take away the game, with Battlefront being the main headpiece for all that. This deck list was made by a user on YouTube under Underdog. This archetype has been around for a while, but Underdog kind of specified and made it this way. I definitely wanted to try it out. Maybe I got clickbaited a little bit, you know, the title's pretty good. I got it right here in front of me. It says, world's most annoying deck. It completely destroys Mythic, and that, obviously that got my attention. So we're here ready to try it out. But if you want to know what the deck is primarily doing for very quickly, obviously, we have the 8 nice bounce spells and Orzhov. We don't have to play Fear anymore. We can play the Sun Pearl Kieran, which is obviously very cool. Flash Speed also gives us a lot of value, and not having to bounce something also can help give us a lot of value. But we're obviously bouncing Hopeless Nightmare as our primary, Nowhere to Run as our main removal spell, and of course we have Momentum Breaker, but we are maxing on this specifically for the Battlefront to have way more targets, which we'll talk about this card at the very end. And then we have Bandit's Talent, a card that was an all-star in the original Pixie list before blue started getting added for strong cards like Kaido. But Bandit's Talent has these very cool abilities on it. Whenever a class enters, each opponent discards 2 cards unless they discard a non-land. So essentially, if they discard a land, they have to discard a second card. If they discard a non-land, they only have to do 1. But then the following modes, which come up a lot in today's video, we actually draw more cards off this than I've ever drawn off of it in my entire life. But at the beginning of each opponent's upkeep, that player has 1 or fewer cards in hand. They lose 2 life. At the beginning of your draw step, draw an additional card for each opponent who has 1 or fewer cards. And this card is very valuable with a Battlefront putting a lot of our discard effects on the stack, and Liliana kind of taxing them away. Bandit's Talent is oftentimes going to be online way more than it used to be, and kind of the other builds. With that said, temporary lockdown, we all know what this is in here for. Liliana kind of to act as a closer on her own. It puts a lot of pressure on the Omniscience deck, as you'll see right away. And then we have Unholy Annex as our kind of top-end draw engine. Or if our opponent's empty-handed, we just make a 6/6 and try to close out the game as quickly as possible. And for the final card, the new card from Tarkir, being United Battlefront, you get to look at the top 7 cards of your library, put 2 non-creature, non-land permanent cards with mana value 3 or less from among them onto the battlefield. Put the rest on the bottom of your library in a random order. So this allows us to instantly put a Liliana, Bandit's Talent in play, a Momentum and Hopeless Nightmare in play, and Nowhere to Run, maybe even 2. Or we also get the temporary lockdown, put in a Hopeless Nightmare, hit our opponent's hand while also putting our own card under lockdown to bounce it later with a Pixie and Kieran, where this combo I've been a bit underwhelmed with in the past, but I think when we're doing it like this, I'm okay with it because you're getting all that value off your Battlefront, holding on to the Pixies a bit more, holding on to the Kierans a bit more, and they're no longer your closer along with Hopeless Nightmare. So I think I'm okay with it here. We're definitely going to give it a run. We run incredibly hot today, and it runs probably about as well as it could. As for the title that they named it, it better, Underdog. That's all I'm saying. It better run hot if we're crushing Mythic with it. But with that said, I'll have his channel and the link to this video that he made in the description. So if you want to check out more of this gameplay and where it originated from and why certain cards got added, you can go definitely check him out there. So with that said, I hope you all enjoyed the video. If you enjoy my content, please consider subscribing, and let's go game. Yeah, I mean, I'll keep. I got interaction. Good. Don't ask about the hat, by the way. I accidentally took this hat from work, and I don't wear hats very often. I think overall I look pretty subpar in a hat. But I now have a hat on. I'm a hat guy now. Who would have thought? Yep, I kind of figured. Can you imagine start a new season? You're like, I'm playing Omniscience combo. Oh wait, yo, they're playing. What? No, never mind. This person's a thug. They love their cards. Now, here's the thing. I don't really have a lot of ways to beat them. Like, I don't really have a lot of ways to tear their hand apart, so probably gonna be a fat L here. We're gonna call it a day. At least I would imagine so. This art is actually really cool, though. I actually like the way the Tarkir dragon borders are. I think they're so clean. I don't know what this will do, but it'll do something. Honestly, not awful. I feel like it has to be like this.
No more distractions. Let's make this quick.
And we just kind of have to hope they don't have it. They haven't drawn like a ton of cards, and this decision seems to be taxing. So it seems like maybe we're looking pretty solid here. And another land, especially another white source, allows me to play Kieran, pick this up, play it back down, play another Kieran, pick this up, and then like plus in between there somewhere. Well, plus, I guess on this plus I have to get rid of Kieran. I don't want to get rid of the nowhere to run because we can hold it up next turn. So if they have the spell to bring it back, like, I don't know what the trouble is, but it is very possible that they do have it, but nothing to go with it. And that kind of is what this seems like. Liliana constantly going to be hitting their hand, so pretty good. The idea here is really weird because I want to plus Lily. They're only going to get one more card in hand unless they go down on cards. Because if they have no cards, right, and we are able to kind of eliminate everything, I mean, that's a great draw. Plus, I guess. Get rid of Kieran here.
Drop it.
And the only real problem is I know most of my stuff is on the bottom. So I think the idea should be here to hold this Battlefront and hold up nowhere to run. Because if they bring it back at this point with two cards in hand, all they're really going to be able to do is put an Omniscience in play and cast one spell, and then we remove the Omniscience. The actual fear in my mind is they bring back Omniscience and immediately play another one, and that's where we'll be in big trouble at. This hat's actually bothering me. It feels weird. I know I talked about not wearing a hat, but don't do anything here. They have 2 cards left. Let's try to scry here. This is what we can do with our scry if it works well enough. Okay, well, we're going to bottom both of those. We should roughly know what the bottom is. 3rd land in a row there. We know that a moment and stuff is kind of in there somewhere. So it's weird because I just don't want to tap out. Like, I just don't feel like there's a need to. So here on the discard, like, I'm just going to get rid of the cave. Yeah, and they had the Abuelo, but I will just plus Liliana until the end of time. I feel like there's no reason not to. I think their only real out is to play like a dragon or something. So let's see what... They cast a spell. We'll just know where to run the Omniscience. And they put one Abuelo in there and have another Abuelo as well. And now we're in a weird spot where, like, we can split their mana in half, but in the best way, and we'll see if our opponent does that. But I honestly am probably just barreling this Battlefront and plussing Lily, trying to rip their entire hand apart. Because again, if they have a Abuelo right in hand, or they rip an Abuelo off the top, they have no other way to kind of like put extra cards in their hand, and we'll never let them stock up cards. The only time I'm probably ulting this Liliana is 1, if I have another one, or 2, if it results in like, oh, they're empty-handed anyway, I'm just going to ult it, split their mana in half. So what we'll do is put a white source and a white source together and put these 3 islands together, and then we'll just split up the Dragon Storms, I guess. Which is like an argument that could be made here. Unholy Annex is awesome. But I think in this spot, I'm going to Battlefront here and see what's up. Hopefully we don't miss, I guess. Hopeless and a nowhere to run, sure. I mean, I'll put them both in play. Here's an Omniscience, and we're gonna plus. I've already kind of made the decision to plus. I'm plussing. Sure. Fail. Where does this card go? Now this is the kind of prime opportunity for us, I think. because they have no cards, and even if it's a Abuelo, we get to take everything away.
I'm the one
So you can either
chooses
keep
who
these
lives
or
and
everything
dies.
else. Basically taking away all their white mana, which is what Abuelo requires to cast, or we're taking all 3 of their islands and the 2 Dragon Storms, which leaves them pretty good mana, but not like enough, right? To really write home about. Yep. And then with that, we'll pass. 1 card in hand. Moment of Truth, pretty a good one. Pretty a good one. Yeah, that's words I said. But yeah, unfortunately for game 1, there's going to be a drawn out taxing match where Liliana shows its all-star capability. Our, United Battlefront putting in a lot of work. Unfortunately, I got rid of Unholy Annex, but I felt like I had to take out both cards in their hand. I thought that was the risk we kind of ran into. So I'm going to pop this. I'm more than happy to get rid of Temporary Lockdown. Okay. Bandit's Talent's going to be a flawless card to play. Liliana is pretty cool because I might minus here. Temporary Lockdown is kind of the card to get rid of on this next couple of draws here. So we'll plush right away. Temporary Lockdown gone.
Drop it.
Another Dragon Storm, which is great. We'll play Bandit's Talent. We'll level this Bandit's Talent up twice. Could have held it, but we now have 7 turns. Main purpose here is to kind of have this Liliana be good, but I'm just going to keep eliminating cards. Sure. Doesn't really do anything. You have to put 1 in hand. That card gets discarded.
I'm tired of
And then
this.
I'll level this all the way up. Now I'm going to start drawing 2 cards a turn. The best draw for them is like stock up, most likely. I don't think there's like really a good draw in this case. I lied. Now there's probably a good draw. So I can plus split the field. Seems good. Level plus. And now they're going to take
Drop
4,
it.
so they now have way less turns. They only have 2 more turns to get through this game. There's a stock up, but the problem is with stock up, you only have 1 mana left. So essentially what they need to do is they need to hope I have nothing, right? They need to hit exactly a Abuelo and a good card. That card is not great for us, so we'll plus.
I'm tired of your
Because now this has to be a Abuelo, and it also has to hit a nice card on the draw. Which is definitely possible. 3-1. Temporary Lockdown. Sure. That does it. That do it. But we obviously have the land to close out the game. And the trigger will get the job done. Even if they have the bounce effect. We can get them. So, weirdly enough, playing against the Omniscience deck in our game 1 of the new season, and we take it down with kind of an oddball deck that I argue would typically struggle, considering we let them discard their Omniscience for free. But yeah, we take it. Very cool. Going first here, we have a Surveil land, a Pixie for the following turn. No real great interaction in terms of like Pixie being able to pick something up and set it back down. Another land on top is pretty great. Now I can Momentum Breaker, pick it back up and do it again. Looks like it's Orzhov as well. Oh, no, it's Esper Pixie most likely. So we'll fire off Momentum Breaker, start to discard chain before our opponent does. Kieran's can probably go. The main card we need to cast is United Battlefront here. I would have to assume this is Esper Pixie. Yeah, nowhere to run. Pretty good. Pretty good throwaway. One of the hard cards for us to face is definitely going to be Kaito. Kaito's always hard. You just can't really target it that well unless you have a nowhere to run. Well, I don't feel great for the fact that my Pixie's going to have to pick up this Momentum Breakers for them to sacrifice their Pixie. Especially if they make me discard twice. But If they only have a momentum breaker, they won't be able to do that, I suppose. In Hopeless, they'll hit my Kieran. They'll try to hold for Battlefront and hope the Battlefront's good. But we're gonna hope. We'll hold Battlefront and try to hit the additional land if it's like a 50-50 shot. They didn't tap their mana right, so fortunately for us, we'll be fine. Maybe they wanted to play the Storm Chasers, but I can't imagine so. Thankfully, we would have hit the land. What do we get? We got Temporary Lockdown, Liliana, and a Bandit's Talent. I feel like Lockdown is actually pretty good for us. Because if we ever get rid of the Lockdown, it's good. But also, so isn't Bandit's Talent and Liliana of the Veil. I'd like for you to discard.
This is my home, and I don't appreciate it when people touch my things.
Liliana acts in the same way as like a Kaito acts, right? Where it kind of just acts as my opponent over and over again. And now they have to answer my Pixie. I'm definitely plussing. Hopeless Nightmare should probably be their discard, considering I'll be empty-handed. And there's a nowhere to run, so thankfully we're good there. And now we just hold. They'll probably play Hopeless. Try to attack my Liliana down. Maybe they hit a nowhere to run, which will answer my Liliana pretty cleanly, which will suck. We want to answer the actual creature, because if our opponent plays a temp lockdown, or I end up playing a lockdown, even though it's very unlikely now, feels okay. There's a land. Honestly, it's going to be... Do I minus here? Put them in kind of a weird spot. Or I just plus, right? Because then they have to still work on Liliana, because then they can't keep cards in hand. Yeah, I think that's the better play. If they don't deal with Liliana, then we're just working up the chain, right? They can put a card in hand, they can buy a card back, they sacrifice in response. Don't know if they'll find a way to deal with our enchantment. Obviously, they could temp lockdown. Maybe that's what they keep there. We'll plus, especially if it's a temporary lockdown, because then that means obviously the otter can't do anything. Pixie, okay. You're going for creatures here. I don't necessarily blame them, but we're going to get a draw 2 here. Temporary Lockdown definitely favors us in this spot because we get a Bandit's Talent back and then a breaker. There's a breaker as well, and there's another Liliana. Fortunately, our Liliana is not going to do anything here. Which does kind of suck, right? Because, like, I kind of want to hold the Liliana, but I guess I can just play Momentum Breaker, hold Liliana, make them hit my Liliana, and then play it post this turn. Or I can just play Liliana minus, and then they still have to attack Lily, but I think they still have to attack Liliana anyway. Don't want to plus it here. I'd much rather pass. You know, Liliana does get answered cleanly. Sure. Maybe playing... Should double attack to play around nowhere to run. This is, in my opinion, a mistake a bit, but whatever. Doesn't really matter.
Fine. I know when I'm not wanted.
I only find it a mistake just because they didn't plus, right? They're going to buy a card back to dodge my Bandit's Talent now. You know what our good draws are. At least we should. These don't scry, right? No. They just gain life. Oh, hey. Hey! Pretty good draws. Do I want a Battlefront here? I think so. I lied. I don't want a Battlefront. I entirely missed. That's actually tragic. Entirely missed there. Like, nowhere to run and Liliana is just good. Maybe I should have just prioritized that. Maybe this card's a counterspell in hand. Now we're just sitting in this really weird spot. Could be a Kieran as well.
Enough with the mysteries. I've come for answers.
Based on our opponent's
Off you go.
turn prior, we probably aren't going to necessarily hit too much here. Yep, up to 3 cards in hand. It just sucks our Battlefront entirely whiffed like that. Because, like, I didn't want to discard it to a Lily, but maybe Lily was always minusing there. That's just a big mistake by me. Most likely. Before blocks happen, we have to do this. We don't want to wait and see, because if it is a Kaito, we definitely want to remove that. Alright, cool. I don't think I'm a big fan of Pixie at this moment, so let's plus and then just make a 6/6. Plus. Like, Pixie's not bad, obviously. I could eliminate every card in our hand, but I think just playing a 6/6 gives us much more value. For the third just got discarded as well, by the way. This allows us to put a big giant creature in play. And then we're able to unlock the NX next turn, and then we'll start drawing extra cards. They go to 12. Last card in hand is valuable. And I'm thinking about it more, which I need to move past, because obviously we're still in this game. I keep thinking about the mistake with the Liliana nowhere to run. I definitely should have played it that way, but it's okay. It happens. But this town ain't big enough is a pretty good pickup for them. All blue mana used. Draw and draw an extra. Pretty poor draws overall, obviously. Oh, try to eliminate this last card in hand. Nowhere to run. Sure. I mean, they might as well play it for pickup value. Right? That resolves. I will discard a Concealed Courtyard. 2 lands was never really anything that we were going to have to... We want to stop on our end step here so we can see if we got a removal spell. Yep. Definitely want to set this down now while our opponent can't respond. Down to 10. We're slowly chipping away with this Bandit's talent. Bandit's talent has been putting in a lot of work. It used to be kind of an all-star that we played in the past. But right now, it's found itself to be a little bit more lackluster than normal because people kind of know how to play around it. But the fact of, like, you always kind of play as though your opponent can play a Bandit's talent. But Liliana at 3. Bandit's talent all the way up. Unholy Annex. Fully unlocked. Land. Nowhere to run. Plus, this Liliana. Discard a cave. This town ain't big enough, sure. We can always... Our opponent is just done. Okay. Alright, we go first. Hand's pretty solid. Got, like, the all-star Pixie hands, if you think about it. It was without the Pixie. Hopeless Nightmare. Please don't put an Omniscience in there. Or an Oculus. Okay. Is it? Or just mono red? He's mono red. I love mono red. We love mono red. Yes, we do. Yes, we do. Alright. Well, we're figuring it out. Could you imagine if this was an instant speed spell, by the way? Like Collected Company is? No, it's green red. Okay. Thankfully, Nowhere to Run doesn't care. I'm in the right format. Crash through is kind of crazy. Only drawing lands here is also kind of crazy. Do I know where to run this now? I think so. I don't want to have to play around because Nowhere to Run obviously doesn't care about cards like Snakeskin Veil. We do care about the card Monstrous Rage. They do seem like a lower to the ground creature deck and just playing a lot of stuff. Alright, this one, I mean, I have to hit something, right? I'm going to airball everything here. Watch this. Alright, I indeed did not airball. Unfortunately, Liliana can be hit with a lightning strike right now, by the way. We don't actually get to activate it. Oh, and there it goes. You don't see it. Let's go, Pog. So we can't plus Liliana until we get priority back, and because Hopeless Nightmare is an ETB, it actually starts the priority chain first. So our opponent obviously discarded a lightning strike, but they could have lightning striked my Liliana with the Hopeless Nightmare trigger on the stack. And there's nothing I could do about it. Well, if I've ever been told anything, temporary lockdown's pretty cool against my blue-white control opponent. You ready for this? Show it to me. Update. Not blue-white control. Looks like a little bit of dragons are in there. Alright, I'm getting confuzzled. Getting capoozled. I have no idea. I'm going to temporary lock down the board, I guess. I don't like doing this. I'm honestly not a big fan of the kind of temporary lockdown my own stuff strategy. This feels weird, but it also feels pretty cool to like pick up my temporary lockdown at instant speed, make them discard 2, or continue to draw more lands and pretend like I'm having a good game. Oh boy. Went 3 in a row. You get a massive flood for your reward. Okay. That's pretty sick. That's pretty sick. Or opponent, I can't really do much about it. Look at the top 4 cards in your library. Put 2 of them in your hand and the rest into your graveyard. I had a friend explaining this card to me. I'm pretty positive he told me it was a put 1 card in my hand. And he's like, yeah, it's way better than the other card because, you know, you get to grab it and you draw off a beanstalk. And I said, yeah, you have to have a beanstalk in play. At no point did we go under the discussion that this puts 2 cards in our hand. But, hey, here's a Liliana. I'd like to participate in this game now, please. Keeping pace as a Pixie deck with the kind of big ramp deck here. Counter unless I pay 3. I have it. What do I pay? Do they have 2 of those? Okay. Honestly, Liliana made him discard 2 cards. Good job. Did what we needed, I guess. But that could be because we're looking to play a dragon that has ward, and Liliana obviously gets around that. If they had a dragon, obviously they would just reveal it. Oh boy. Okay, that card's fine-ish. The card allows us to do the temporary lockdown nonsense. Counter target creature spell, destroy target enchant. Blow my... I said, blow this up, dude. See if I can. Not a whole lot I can do. You know what I mean? It's like one of those things where you just draw a ton of lands and you just... I just lose, I guess. We have 4 cards. Temporary lockdown's not good in this matchup outside of helping ourselves. And we've 5, 6, 7, 8 lands. Okay. It happens. How many did they put in? I think they put in 3. Early cover up would be fine. I'm surprised. Wouldn't just try to exile all my lilies, maybe. Maybe they don't care. We'll end. We'll see if they try to do something here. They do nothing. You always want to fight them on their turn. Force them to interact with you on their turn. I'll even take this 3. Fine with that. What does that do, you might add? I don't know, something. It does do something. I think they might have had interaction for the Kieran and we're like, okay, what are they, like, are they bouncing that lockdown? And then it's like, well, my permanents are the one under it. So yeah, yes, I will do that. I think they might have forgot that the lockdown was just my stuff that's going to interact with them pretty vividly. Sure. The 31. Not wait. Tell me we're in one of those situations where we just are playing way too many cards. 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 11, 12, 11, 7. No, it's fine. 44 cards on the spike. I don't even know what that means anymore. My turn. I'll bet. It's a long road to climb, I'm aware. They do have counter unless I pay for certain things, so I'm going to go for an Unholy Annex on the cheap. I can pay 4 mana here. Then we'll unlock. The unlock ability is not counterable. I mean, you can counter an activated ability, of course, but you can't, like... Where are you? This thing. Destroy target enchantment, obviously counter target creature spell, I guess, whatever. It's this one. counter the first part. They can't really counter the second part. No reveal there, I don't think. Yeah, they didn't reveal anything there or behold anything. So it's a 32 cards for our opponent, 3 cards in hand. We are kind of crushing their hand for the most part. I feel like our 6/6 is definitely gone. Okay. I'll surveil too. That is fine with me. Urine is whatever. I'm just going to bottom both of those. Another Pixie. Okay, sure. Back for 6. We almost have them under their starting life total, which is pretty cool. We'll pass. We're just looking to hold Pixie for if we ever find a Hopeless Nightmare. We're definitely going to be looking to like play it, pick it up, play it, pick it up, play it, pick it up, play it. Especially if they're going to play all their lands and stuff out, which could be because of a robbery, if I had to guess. All right. You know what? Good job, gang. We'll play a lockdown. We'll just pick it back up with a Pixie, just to make our Pixie at 2/2, I guess, and present like some amount of threat to the battlefield. But yet again, we're sitting here with like, okay, now that will get the job done for the most part. And its talent. Hopefully, there's no counter for it. That's at least that effective. Trigger for it. And its talent obviously good if they were stockpiling the lands. There's that kind of interacting counter spell. Here. Pick this back up. Pixie comes in. Play this again. Take their last card. That's not an instant. It's a land. Which they obviously couldn't afford to do anything about previously, because if they did, like obviously the land and this would be discarded. The land plus 1 or 2 lands. Kind of weird the way it works overall. Not bad. And for 4. And we're slowly chipping away at this game that I thought was so hopeless for a while. Not having a card like a Beanstalk or anything is definitely causing a little bit of problems, that's for sure. And then they could obviously have like the cease desist kind of stuff, but I'm going to play this. I'm going to pick up our momentum breaker here. Just to keep them from being able to hold cards in their hand. But they're down to 1. Whatever will they do? Drawing multiple cards. It's one of those downsides too, for our opponent here, where it's like, well, I didn't end up finding the cards I needed, right? Where it's like we just drew land after land after land, and they just never found like a threat to put on the battlefield to end the game. For example, I think, in my humble opinion, oh, they omened it away. What's the dragon? Where's it at? When they countered Liliana, please. Game, please. Hey, game, please. I think when they countered Liliana, if they would have been able to stick one of these on the battlefield with that ward cost, so I couldn't like remove it directly that well. It's also a 4/4, so like nowhere to run, can't pick it off. Or just when they stuck this, right? Like it was so good for a while, and then we were able to finally pick up the temporary lockdown. They just didn't get to stick it on the battlefield quite quick enough, and we end up coming out on top because of it. So weird game to win. They went over half their deck, and we end up taking it away. So very cool, and we move on. I mean, yes sir, will do, Captain. We're gonna do this a little bit weirder though, to be honest. We're gonna play the fortress first. The reason for that is because 1, we're on the play and we have a very finite amount of time. 2, I can play this Bandit's Talent on 2 here, which is kind of nice. And then we have the option to Hopeless Nightmare, pick it back up, and then play it again to really crush our opponent's hand. An op hits the bin. We can now also Nowhere to Run and then pick the Nowhere to Run back up, where that's obviously sometimes a little bit more important. No Corey Steel Cutters, so I'm feeling pretty happy. The Spell Pierce from our opponent. It seems so. Plus, definitely seems like something here. Our opponent's hand. A little part of me just kind of wants to play Pixie, pick up Hopeless. If they're going to hold up a Spell Pierce, I'm just going to bully their hand while I can. If they want to sit there on their hand and just do nothing. Obviously, they're looking to get rid of this. Maybe they have a Monstrous Rage or something. Now they Spell Pierce. So we called them on it, which is pretty awesome, obviously. We definitely want to do that. And it's arguably the best card we could have taken from them. Here's a Corey Steelcutter, sure. We'll cast one more spell, I assume. Temporary Lockdown is in our deck. We do have quite a bit of those. But we're going to take quite a bit of damage here, which sucks. So this is like kind of online, which is pretty cool. Liliana is pretty sick as well. We go right into Nowhere to Run. Going to pick off at this present moment the Spear, I guess. Don't really know on that one. Then we're gonna like obviously play this. Maybe it should have been the opposite way. I'm unsure because I guess this will maintain trample. They just concede. They just give up. Okay. Well, this hand's a bit weird with how this hand's gonna curve out, but maybe I just surveil first. And we can go for like a Momentum Breaker and then maybe a Liliana. And then Hopeless Nightmare can always buy back its value later if we find bounce effects. Because I never feel the need to rush this out when I'm on to play. Because they're just going to have way too many options. That card's incredible, sure. And we can also just play a tap land and then play Hopeless Nightmare next turn too, right? We don't have to go for this Liliana play now. Because the thing about the Liliana play is it's much better when we can start plussing while we're empty-handed. It's significantly worse in spots where like we do play this on 3, we don't have a land or something, and we have to play something tapped. But here I'm gonna go for Hopeless. We might end up down taking a Lily next turn, and we might end up playing the kind of Battlefront after Momentum Breaker, maybe the card that bites dust on a plus on Liliana. But we obviously have a draw or two before we get there. But the exact same matchup, we'll see if our opponent is willing to just discard with an opt on, or concede with an opt on the stack, or if the Corey Steel runner is going to run my fade. Rend Resolve, buying cards back, and 2 good cards at that. Most likely won't get the full value off that, and Pixie is a fantastic draw here. So I can play Pixie, pick up his Hopeless Nightmare. Then I can play the Hopeless Nightmare back down, really isolate their hand a bit, cause some problems, maybe structural issues with the way they want to play out their turns. And it's a little bit tough. The Pain Land is in, a Spell Pierce is in the dirt. Obviously they don't know about the Battlefront, but we do, so thankfully that Spell Pierce goes away. But Corey Steelcutter into like Burst Lightning my Pixie here would probably be best. They get to make a dude, they get to do all the things. And then the argument now is how dangerous is this one Corey Steelcutter? Like, do I need to remove the creature? And the answer is probably no. Just probably play Battlefront, try not to whiff out the yard. Maybe cause them some problems. Another land, so it's a pretty decent draw overall. Battlefront. Well, I can put it this way. We definitely did not whiff. So it feels like Temporary Lockdown has to be choice number 1. Is there a way I think our stack will resolve the way we want. I guess the creature's getting absorbed anyway, so I much rather take the one that deals damage. So let's take it all. Now they have to take damage here. The Momentum Breaker would have resolved second as well, so we'd have been able to really hit their hand with it as well. But another Hopeless Nightmare under here whenever we bounce this back to hand. Eventually, we'll obviously be pretty happy about that. Hey, there's some mana for you. You can play those for your next 2 turns. Stock up, obviously, a card that they definitely know they can play. Nowhere to Run is a fantastic pickup. We're going to play it a bit different. We're going to play this Momentum Breaker, isolate that last card, take it away from them. It's a Corey Steelcutter. Then we're going to Nowhere to Run this Slick Shot, and I would assume our opponent's going to concede to that. Yep. Sure. Huh. Yes. Or if they just keep that, I'm just going to play this Liliana in minus. Because the Spell Pierce doesn't beat us here.
A fight? And you think you can win?
I mean, if a Slick Shot is attacking me and is only ever going to deal 1 damage, unless I'm specifically at 1, I'm perfectly fine with that. Not a lot of cases where a Slick Shot hitting me for 1 is ever going to find lethal. Sure. Definitely makes sense. We're going to keep isolating creatures. Alright. Let's deal with this one, boss. Drawing hot. Not a whole lot more to say about it. Drawing very well, and when Battlefront needed to hit, it hit. It hit in probably the best way possible, really showing its power. So, that said, I think I'm already plat. We just run 6-0 in the plat? I think so. I think we won 1-1 because you do 2 in gold, right? Yeah, I mean, we just 6-0'd it. So, cool. Yeah, cool deck. Let's move on. Okay, so here we are with the list at the very end. Again, this list was made by the YouTuber that goes by Underdog. I didn't end up watching the entire thing myself because I was in a bit of a hurry. And honestly, I kind of forgot. If you don't know, I am starting a second channel where I just do like normal plays. I kind of started my Magic channel in general because I was like, if I'm going to play a ton of Arena, I've already been on camera a lot. If you've ever watched Apex's content at all, I've already been on camera a ton. So it was kind of like a no-brainer for me to be like, you know what, maybe we'll just try to do the Magic thing for a while. We did some commentary already, so like talking about plays and stuff was pretty natural. I might not be the best play-by-play person of all time, but I'm not. But at the same time, I could do it a little bit, so I was fine with doing it. And now when I play Magic, I use anything I get from YouTube to basically afford to play Magic on Arena to do all my kind of stuff, because I don't make that much, I think. Well, I actually know I don't make very much at all off of YouTube, so that's fine. It is what it is. But it's kind of one of those things where like it fuels me buying like the $50 thing when a new set comes out pretty much, and I'm fine with that for the most part, or at least right now. But I'm basically going to be playing some other games, so I started another channel. And I was in the midst of doing that, and I looked over, and I saw, like, I got clickbaited, for sure. The title was, Absolutely Crushing Mythic Undefeated, I think. And this was the list, and Underdog played it. So I kind of, like, did one of those things where I put it in 2 times, and I kind of, like, fast-forwarded it through. So, like, the commentary and stuff I wasn't listening to all too well. I don't like to click off people's video, especially when the viewer count isn't necessarily the highest, kind of like mine, because I don't want to hurt like the viewer watch time, retention time, because obviously that matters a lot. But this is entirely their list and their decisions and what they wanted to put in, so that was pretty cool. I definitely like it a lot. I'm not the hugest fan of temporary lockdown and self-bouncing it all that much. At least I am a little bit more with a card like Bandit's Talent, because I think this card is really devastating to play around, especially whenever it gets under a temporary lockdown and you're forced to do this again. This card loses a lot of value whenever your opponent does discard 2 cards, right? But it's the threat that it can, and if you have a temporary lockdown in play and you're hopeless nightmaring, hitting everything, a slight discard wrong, and then you could get extra value off that. And this won us games today. I mean, we actually drew more cards off this today than I think I've ever drawn off of Bandit's Talent in a very long time. And the 2 of Unholy Annexes is a nice sweet touch on it. You don't necessarily need them as much as like Battlefront kind of acts as our Unholy Annex in a way. Because if you think about it, if this enters, we do hit Bandit's Talent, say like a Hopeless Nightmare that turns our Pixies on and it turns our Kieran's on to make them a lot better. And then Temporary Lockdown is just so good right now that we're just kind of forced to play it. And Liliana the Veil is an awesome hit off of Battlefront. Just allows us to isolate a lot of games out and win pretty fondly with it. So with that said, I hope you all enjoyed, and I'll catch you in the next one. Thanks for watching, and goodbye.